Hi everyone, this is Dragon GGY. Welcome to another episode of Operator Hindsight, and in the spotlight today is Viviana. Viviana is a 6-star arts fighter in the guard class. The trait of the archetype is that they deal arts damage, which is the only one in guards that can do so consistently. Surtur, who's one of the commonly acknowledged powerful operator, is also an art fighter. Before everything, let's take a look at this table showing all the stats built for guard archetypes. There are a lot of numbers, and I highlighted max HP, defense, and resistance for you. If you look across, arts fighters, despite their block 1 nature, actually have above average numbers out of all guard. Then if we look at the kit designs of previous members, you can find out that they also have some high emphasis on survival, which is in line with the strengths in numbers. Muse can debuff enemies' attack and has defense increase in her skills, which Astasia also does. Sideroka, on the other hand, has HP recovery in both of her skills. Even the more aggressive members like Armia Guard still have Arts Dodge and defense increase, and Surtur has her Remnant Ash talent that helps her stay on the field for just a bit longer. However, almost none of them have multi-target capability, and even when they do, it's not consistent. So, lane holding and mob clearing is definitely not a reliable expectation out of them. The designs lean more towards a ground arts solution dealing with low resistance enemies while having the proper top list and survival bonus for dueling them. Let's go over Viviana's talents. Talent 1 deals 8% more damage and takes 8% less physical and arts damage, 9% for both at potential 5. The effect is doubled if there's an elite or boss enemy within range. A straightforward damage increase and survival bonus, and extends her advantage towards elite and bosses. The fact that it only doubles when they are in range is a bit sad because it does not take effect for opponents with a longer attack range than her, but at least she can use skill 3 to extend her range. Next is talent 2. When attacking an elite or boss enemy has a 18% chance, 20% at potential 3 to gain a shield that only blocks melee attacks, has a max stack at 1. So classic HG expression here when it says when attacking, it refers to each instance of damage. So for all the double and triple hits in her skills, each hit will try to earn a shield for Viviana individually, so the chance of getting a shield in one attack would go up. Second is that the game has a chaotic rule for determining whether an incoming damage is meleeed or ranged, and you cannot judge it by reading the enemy info. For details, you can refer to the same mechanism explanation when we discuss Executor's Altered Skill 2. Again, the closest description would be non-projectile damage with a traceable damage source. This talent is yet another key survival bonus for Viviana, and it synergizes with a kit like I just said with multi-hits and also attack speed plus for higher shield coverage. However, only blocking melee damage is kinda like a double-edged sword. It makes sure that the shield is only consumed by her blocked target and not random ranged damage, which makes good sense for a block 1 unit. But it also makes Viviana less effective towards ranged opponents, because at that point this talent would become as good as nothing, and because it's bound to attacks, whether she can survive unscratched or completely destroyed depends heavily on the attack speed of both herself and her opponent. So overall, I'd say she's pretty picky of her enemies. So looking at these two talents, you should immediately grasp that she functions around dealing with elite and boss level enemies. Therefore, when we discuss the skills, all calculations will be based on performance against elites and bosses. For skills, my recommendation is skill 3 mastery 3 over skill 2 mastery 3. I wouldn't recommend even using skill 1 at all, so let alone the masteries. Skill 1 for the next attack increase to 200% and hits twice. When charged, attack range +2 and hits thrice instead. This is a 4 SP auto recovery pseudo power strike skill. If Viviana is attacking constantly, the cycle DPS is 1218, which is not optimal. For comparison, Aya skill 2 Ignition has a cycle DPS of 1108, but the skill is AoE while Viviana's skill 1 is single target. Mechanically, if Viviana uses skill before it can finish charging, it will only consume 4 SP and keep the part towards the charge. And if a hit in a multi-hit defeats an enemy, then subsequent hits will seek a new target, kinda like Bagpipe skill 2. That's pretty much for this skill. Single target, uncontrollable charging, and the lack of range really doesn't make it a serviceable AFK skill. Not recommended. Skill 2, attack plus 40%, defense plus 160%, and block plus 1. Attacks all blocked enemies. Each attack has a 20% chance to be a 2-hit with 150% attack and steal 40 attack speed from the target, up to, well, just 40. Lasts until the skill ends or Viviana leaves the field. This is a 15/25, 35-second long duration short cooldown skill. Mechanically, even though Viviana can only get 40 attack speed, which is just one stack from enemies, she can continue to steal and reduce the attack speed of subsequent enemies. It's just that she doesn't gain for herself anymore. And like skill 1, if a hit in a multi-hit defeats an enemy, subsequent hits will seek a new target. The optimal total damage for this skill is 71k with a 2053 skill DPS. By optimal, it's when a Viviana successfully crits and steals attack speed from enemy in the first hit, but not when she crits every attack. But by expectation, the skill should do about 66k damage with a skill DPS of 1895. Pros about this skill is that it has a big defense increase, and attack speed still can reduce enemies' attack frequency, while the increased attack speed and double hit for herself all contributes to a higher likelihood of gaining a shield. So this skill provides a strong defensive boost, hence the yellow background for the icon. Other than that, the performance on the offensive end isn't looking too promising. She can only gain 1 stack of attack speed from steal, but the double hit and attack up are also part of this critical hit deal that links to the attack speed steal. So as you can see from the table here, the final damage varies hugely depending on which attack Viviana steals attack speed, and on top of that, how many subsequent crit hits takes place. At the end of the day, if you compare this to lane holder skills like Blaze skill 2 or dueling skills like Holder's skill 3, its stats are just not convincing enough. The conflict behind this is Viviana's massive survivability difference in an elf skill. She returns the attack speed that she stole back to the enemy and loses the defense boost. If she can't reliably take out enemies during skill, chances are that they live to threaten her during downtime, making that 25 seconds a nightmare for her. Skill 3, attack interval plus 0.5 seconds into 1.75 seconds, attack plus 110%, defense plus 90%, resistance plus 25, attack hit twice, second talent trigger rate increased to 2.5 times, attacks prioritize elite and boss enemies. Starting from the second use, attack range plus 2, attack hits twice, and duration increased to 25 seconds. This is a 18/25, 15 seconds or 25 second skill with a weird warm-up mechanism. Despite saying attack prioritize elite and boss, the highest priority for a melee unit is still the target she's currently blocking. And for some reason, unlike the previous two skills, when a hit in a multi-hit kills an enemy, the subsequent hit damage will be lost entirely. Let's just look at the damage from second activation onwards, which is 80k with a DPS of 3222. During skill, Viviana has a 75% chance to gain shield from each attack, and it becomes 87.5% starting from the second activation. So, pros about this skill. Finally, it has a high DPS on paper and also a high chance to gain shield. When dueling a melee target, it's not hard for her to remain unscratched in skill. However, it takes 47 seconds for the skill to be at full strength. She's also strictly block 1 attack 1 using this skill, so it can only be reserved for dueling. One thing I want to point out as well is that having the high shield gain rate is already a strong survival bonus. I get it that the defense and resistance plus are safety measures, and for when she has to face a range enemy. But I would love to trade part of those for some extra offensiveness, because expecting her to operate without healing is impractical, and I need a healer for her anyways. Last but not least, Viviana is still basically two people on and off skill. That has a lot to do with the offensive end. To put her DPS into perspective, Viviana has a higher base DPS than Surtur's skill 3 with this skill. However, due to Surtur's resistant ignore talent, she quickly takes over starting from 19 resistance, which is fair considering Surtur is more of a hit and run design. But mechanically, if you look at the table here, Art's damage ignore gets weaker as enemies' resistance goes higher, which gives Viviana a lot of trouble. It's not uncommon for elites and bosses, which are her supposed targets, to have higher resistance. Not to mention that bosses nowadays are getting more and more complicated to be dealt with by one operator. In my personal experience, these are the most common problems using this skill, or just Viviana as a whole. Letting her enemy live through her skill or picking them up during downtime makes her really vulnerable. The lack of damage in downtime for a block 1 unit also leads to inevitable leaking, so a block unit is almost always necessary. Shields being at 1 stack max only can also compromise her to high attack speed or multi-hit enemies. So, in hindsight, I want to break down why Viviana has some good stats on paper, but the actual experience using her has not been good. First, let's analyze from the state of the game. It has long been a thing in Archetypes that some operators who are capable of dealing multi-target damage deal more damage to one target than some dedicated single-target operators. Therefore, as a meant-to-be dueler, you need a really standout kit to be competitive. A few examples. Neural Alter skill 2 has almost everything that makes her a standout. It instantly pops some deploy, so that's a plus for Hella Drop. Landing stun and protective shields are bonus to survival. Despite having just 72k total damage, she also has a 31% defense ignore, so it's quote-unquote high quality damage. And most importantly, she doesn't take up deployment slots, so you can always count on it. Holderer, which we revealed 2 episodes ago, despite all his flaws, still manages dueling fairly well because his high HP pool makes sure that he stays alive facing low DPS damage, and high DPH allows him to crunch through high defense enemies. Zuole, which we should talk about in a few months, does it yet another way. Even though the total damage from skills are not that high, he gets to spam them with less than 10-second cooldown, with lingering barrier and stuns that help him survive the downtime. Even with those standouts, I wouldn't say these 3s are any prevalent in the game right now. In fact, from a meta perspective, the flexibility of fast redeploy units and the dominance of multi-target long-range operators have greatly impacted these traditional short-handed duelers. Well, people tend to like easier solutions, right? And back to Viviana's kit. These are flaws that, in my opinion, improving any of them can make her more reliable doing what she can do. 1, she's highly specialized for elite and boss, and only 0.5 out of her 2 talents is doing work when she deals with mobs, which in itself is fine, but that leads to 2, not only does she get shield from just elite and boss, it also only has 1 stack, and the gain rate is just low without skills. 3 and 4 are the keys. She doesn't have the proper means to penetrate high resistant enemies, nor does she have multi-target damage other than her defensive skill 2. Finally, with an overall design encouraging continued presence and how she performs on and off skill, 25-second downtime is a bit too much. To put that into perspective, think about Celtic. Both skill 2 and skill 3 helps with monster survival and damage. Part of the reason why they are consistent is the 8 SP and 15 SP cycle respectively. To be honest, Viviana kinda reminds me of Halager, where he shares the same pain of having to wait for a 25 SP skill 2, as well as ineffectiveness against higher defense enemies. So for Viviana, at the end of the day, she's still more of a survivalist who's effective against elites and bosses, preferably melee, and hopefully gives her enough time to gain a shield that negates melee damage. Her talents lean more towards survival, but needs skills to become effective. Therefore, to make her more viable, other than just supplementing general block and heal units, there are some synergies that I think helps her out particularly a lot. First is Telopsis. Other than the obvious heal, she also shortens Viviana's skill cooldown. Texas Alter Skill 2 provides the resistance shred and helps crunching down thicker enemies. And finally, Read Alter Skill 2 is a good way to fill in the gap during Viviana's downtime. The 20-second fireballs help prevent leaking, provide healing and damage support. It also can be used to amplify her damage during skill. Their duration and cooldown is quite similar, so it's easy to work around. For highlights, all I can remember is one of the dailies in the upcoming CC Pyrolysis, where enemies only take damage from the unit that blocked them, while all units become block 1. One of the highlights for Holderer and Viviana at the time. So in conclusion, Viviana is a 6-star arts fighter that has decent survivability during skill, but has limitations posed by her specialized kit, as well as the stark difference between her in and out of skill. I rate her at 4 for daily. The high arts DPS and survivability during skill can still find effectiveness against favorite targets, but due to her block 1, attack 1 nature and downtime weakness, additional blocking and healing are oftentimes still necessary as support. For advanced, I rate her at 3. The outstanding survivability during skill is her most unique advantage. Even if she doesn't kill, she for sure can stall an enemy. But debuffs related to attack speed or enemy attack speed buffs would be devastating for her as it directly impacts her shield coverage. And the cruel fact about hardcore gameplay is, if she doesn't make a kill possible, chances are that she will just be an inferior pick to actual tanking units. Finally, this is the pull recommendation for upcoming 6 stars. After some more experience with new units, I have made some further adjustments, so sorry for the frequent changes. I also, after some discussion with viewers and friends, decided to give a daily rating of 10 to Visadel to mark her as the ceiling of all the entirety of current operator roster, then adjusted everyone else to match the standard. Also, for reference, the only operator that I think deserves a 10 for advanced content is Ines, for her crazy functionalities packed together. Sorry again for being late. The preparation behind these videos takes tons of time, and I hope you can leave a like if it helps in any ways. That's it for this one. I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.